The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
In Virginia's mountain communities, the disappearance of Coach Travis Turner has erupted into a storm of fear, shock, and unanswered questions. Once celebrated for leading Union High's undefeated football season, he is now a fugitive, wanted on multiple warrants involving child sexual abuse material and online solicitation. Investigators say Turner vanished the moment accusations surfaced, leaving behind a stunned team and a town struggling to reconcile victory with betrayal. Troopers are chasing tips across state lines while parents worry about what may still be uncovered. Tonight, the search intensifies, and the one question on everyone's lips, where is he hiding? Meanwhile, Luigi Mangione returned to court today with one mission: to convince a judge to suppress key evidence prosecutors call central to their case. Mangione has remarkably taken on a folk hero status to some who show up to support the accused assassin, who prosecutors say was caught on video shooting and killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in New York City. Tonight, we have the latest from the courtroom in this high-profile drama. But first, as the trial of Brian Walshe begins in Massachusetts, the courtroom is heavy with the gravity of a case that has gripped the nation. Prosecutors allege he murdered his wife, Ana Walshe, after a series of suspicious internet searches and conflicting stories that drew immediate scrutiny. Then, in a shocking move, Walshe pleaded guilty to tampering with and disposing of Ana's body, but maintains his innocence for her murder. Today in court, the defense tells their shocking side of the story to the jury. Will the jury buy it? I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Brand new trial beginning today right here on your front row seat to justice. A case involving a woman named Ana Walshe, who vanished, has never been found. Her husband, Brian Walshe, charged with her murder. But he's already said, I got rid of her. He's already admitted getting rid of his wife's remains. So what remains in this trial? A lot remains in this trial. So Brian Walshe already went into court without any sort of a deal and pleaded guilty to disposing of his wife, getting rid of her remains, remains that have never, ever been recovered. Now, while he does admit that, he also adds to his statement, but I didn't kill her. All right? Now, I got rid of her body, but I didn't kill her. And this is interesting, to say the least, right? And obviously, there are different charges, different ramifications. Getting rid of a body, you know, comes up to here in a criminal court. Murder, that's it. You're done. That's life. No parole. You're gone. You never have an opportunity to be a free man. So there's a big difference. So I get that part of it. And it leads us really to the big question that we were all anticipating for today, opening day in the trial. So what's the story here? He got rid of the body, but he didn't kill her. Like, you've got to explain that. There's got to be something behind it. And let me tell you, what we heard today was bringing back memories. Memories of the prophet, Chad Daybell, and his wife, Tammy Daybell. Remember his story? She just died. She's just dead. You know, like, I was in the bed, she was dead. And then she rolled off the bed, and she was still dead. That was the story that Chad Daybell tried to sell to investigators, to his family, and ultimately to the jury who did not believe him. That's kind of what we have here, is that this young woman, healthy woman, just died. Take a listen to Brian Walshe's attorney, Larry Tipton, here, explain their side of the story.
On January 1st of 2023, Jim Mutlow left the family home of Brian and Ana Walshe sometime between 1 and 1:30 in the morning. Ana and Brian Walshe continued to celebrate the New Year's. They went upstairs to the bedroom. About an hour later, you'll hear evidence that Mr. Walshe got up, went back downstairs to clean the kitchen. You'll see evidence that he looked at his email. You'll hear evidence that he then returned to the bedroom, intending nothing more than to crawl into bed with Ana Walshe, the woman he loved. When he entered the bedroom and began to get into the bed, he sensed something was wrong. You will hear evidence that it made no sense to him. But he nudged Ana, his wife. She didn't respond. He nudged her again, a little harder. She didn't respond. He nudged her now in a frantic and panic reaction to where she actually rolled off the bed. You'll hear evidence that now he is panicking and he doesn't understand what has happened and what is happening. It didn't make any sense to him. It didn't make sense that somebody that he had just been with and enjoyed New Year's Eve into New Year's Day would suddenly be dead. Not innocent. You will hear evidence in this case of sudden, unexplained death. Sudden, unexplained death is known within the medical community and the forensic community. But it is to this day not well understood, and that is the evidence you will hear. And it is not well known to non-medical professionals. And you will hear evidence Brian Walshe never imagined somebody suddenly died. 1 hour he's with her, he cleans the kitchen, he comes back up, and she is dead.
Oh boy. It's literally like the Tammy Daybell situation, right? Rolled right off the bed. Nudged her. Rolled off the bed, just dead. She just died. And you heard the attorney explain that it didn't make sense to Brian Walshe. Will it make sense to the jury? That's what the trial's going to be about, folks. Get ready. All right, let's bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, joining us live, returning to the scene of the crime, Dedham, Massachusetts, where he seems to spend a lot of time outside the Norfolk County courthouse. I think you can now officially vote there. I think you've spent enough days in Dedham where you could vote for the mayor's race. You could probably vote for the statewide elections as well at this point. Matt, great to see you. Tell us about the scene inside the historic courtroom, which you're in this time instead of that tiny little one.
Yeah, I compare it to like being in a grand ballroom. It's the bigger of the courtrooms here in this historic courthouse behind me. You've been here, Vinny, for the Karen Reed trials. We were in a much, much smaller room where everyone was just basically on top of themselves. Well, this room has to be 6 times larger, stained glass, marble. There is, wood, and it's just really a grand room. And it was completely full today, but full of reporters from all across the country, as this has been in the headlines for the past 3 years, and the community has been watching this case very, very closely for the past 3 years. We were here when Brian Walshe was arrested from his Cohasset home 3 years ago. We were here when his wife was missing, her body obviously not found. Well, today you could hear a pin drop in that very large courtroom behind me. And that's when he was walked in his shackles and his handcuffs, and he looks over at his mother. She was wearing a brooch. She was also wearing a very expensive suit. She was the only one here, supporting him. But everyone just got very quiet when he walked in, And then everyone was glued to the attorneys as their voices just kind of echoed and roared through that room just as they were speaking. It just kind of, lifts in the room. It's just the acoustics or something else. And we were all kind of in shock when we heard the defense describe what their theory in all of this is, that he just stumbled upon his wife's body and discovered her dead. As for the jury members, we have 9 women and 7 men. They're taking a lot of notes. They're paying close attention, and they're also paying close attention on this defendant who was not showing any emotion in court today, Vinnie, as his defense team was laying forth that defense that we heard for the first time today.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the prosecutor. What did the prosecutor have to say today?
That was along the lines of what we heard, quite frankly, 3 years ago when he was arrested and we were hearing the charges against him and they were kind of laying out the evidence that they had at that point in time. Well, they're still sticking with that same story. They say that, he was a troubled man who was in trouble with the law. He owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. His wife was becoming estranged from him, possibly having an affair. They were talking about that again today. He was worried that he was losing his meal ticket. She made more than $300,000. She was working in another state. She was working in Washington, D.C. She was the support for the family. He was on house arrest. And then we heard this from prosecutors. Take a listen.
The same device searched how long for someone to missing to inherit. How long missing to be dead? Can you throw away body parts? How to saw a body? How to dismember a body? Can you be charged with murder without a body?
And that this is going to be a theme throughout this trial. Prosecutors are estimating that this is going to be a 2, possibly 3-week trial as they lay out the evidence in this case. But they're going to talk about the fact that, he did all of these searches. That's coming in. And they're also going to talk about the fact, it's going to come in that he pled guilty to those other charges, including disposing of the body. They talked about that in the opening statements, but again, his defense is saying that he snapped. He didn't know what to do. He was in shock. He discovered his wife had been dead in the home, and then he disposed of her remains.
Those Google searches are interesting, Matt. I can answer the last question, can you be charged without a body? The answer is yes, and he is being charged without a body. Also interesting, the first 2 questions were how long, not how's long. So that's another difference here in addition to the courtroom that you're in. Real interesting evidence today, the audio interview of Brian Walsh played in court today.
Yeah, so the first interview or the witness out of the gate was a Cohasset police officer. This is the lead detective on the case as he's been presented to this jury. And he was going over his initial investigation when this was a missing persons case. He goes to the house a couple days later and he starts interviewing Brian Walsh. And something clicked or registered for this detective because he started recording these interviews and these questions. And Brian Walsh is saying some unusual things. Here's part of it.
Sunday morning when she leaves,
Yeah.
you haven't heard anything?
I talk to her a lot, and even if she can't talk, she sends me a text saying I'll call you right back or something. I mean, it's very rare. It's 1 or 2 times that I didn't hear from her, and then I freaked out, and then she's like, you need to take it easy.
One of the reasons someone goes missing is because they were abused or injured or assaulted. Did you do anything to hurt your wife?
No, sir. I wouldn't hurt my wife. I mean, I love my wife. All we want is to have her back. This family doesn't work without her. I mean, we can't function without her.
You guys never had a physical fight? Nothing like that before?
No, not at all.
Okay, so right there you have the lead detective going through. That's just a snippet of the interview clips that this jury has heard today. He's still on direct examination. He's going to be called back to the stand tomorrow. We expect more powerful testimony from this particular witness, and then it's going to be the cross-examination, and that's going to be interesting to watch because, again, Vinnie, this jury knows that he admits that his wife is dead. before he's talking to this official with law enforcement, so he's lying. And it's just an awkward feeling in court as these are being played, and that jury is noticing it.
Oh, yeah. No, those are some bad facts. Matt Johnson, back at the scene of the crime. Thank you so much, Matt. We'll be speaking to him throughout the course of this trial. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Walshe III, along with criminal defense attorney Darnell Crossland and family law attorney Jennifer Brandt. Great to have everyone here. She just died. Like that. This is the defense. She just died. Al, I mean, is it too ridiculous, or is it so ridiculous that someone might believe it? That, yeah, she died, and, you know, he panicked because he was on house arrest.
What's interesting to me is that how do you explain sudden, unexplained death? You can't, okay? It's an oxymoron. So she died of something he can't explain. And if anyone asks the question, he says, well, how can I explain it? The medical community calls it sudden, unexplained death. Okay, so he's got that going for him right there. But this guy has got more problems across the board. I mean, first of all, he's on house arrest for art fraud because he was trying to sell off some counterfeit Andy Warhol paintings. And he's looking at that point, I think 36 months or something like that he's going to be doing jail time. Then he's got a scenario with regards to he's pled guilty to trying to get rid of the body and this, that, the other thing, and lying.
Oh, he didn't try. He got rid of the body. She's never been found. She's never been found.
He's guilty to that. And that's going to run concurrent to that sentence, I believe. So the man is already a two-time loser. Once you've been convicted of fraud, how do you explain anything when you've got a fraud conviction? It means that you don't know how to tell the truth. And that's what he's looking at here. There's nothing he's going to be able to do. He's not going to be able to explain away those Google searches. They are just that's basically a confession in little snippets. So under the circumstances, I don't know what he's going to do when he gets on the stand, but I tell you one thing, it's going to be damn entertaining. Yeah, that's for sure.
Darnell, here's what I'm thinking about. This came right into my mind. It was one of the first things I said. The body's never been found, right? So you don't know how she died, right? If this was the jury from Pinellas County that refused to convict this mother who was accused of murdering her daughter, Kaylee Marie Anthony, and the jury afterwards said they couldn't prove how the little girl died. They can't prove how she died here.
Yeah, so let's back up a little bit. So typically when you have these murder investigations, the medical examiner makes a determination of cause of death and manner of death. So those are presented to the jury as well. So to your question, the jury could look at that and then make a determination or see if in fact the facts and circumstances support the cause of death or manner of death, right, by the medical examiner. We don't have that here. And I'm not so concerned as to cause of death and manner of death in this scenario. If I was a juror, I'll be looking at the behavior that happened after he found her.
Like lying? Like lying?
Exactly.
Well, that's what Casey Anthony did. Casey Anthony, all she did was lie. The jury didn't care.
Yeah. But why didn't you act as a reasonable, normal person would act under the circumstances, like calling 911?
She told nobody for 31 days. She said her daughter drowned, and she said nothing for 31 days. I'm telling you, Darnell, this is exactly congruent with Casey Anthony. I keep saying her name, but I have to so people understand what I'm talking about. And the jury was only concerned with one thing. Like, you couldn't prove to us how she died. And here he's saying it's suds.
Well, the question is do you look at those scenarios and as a prosecutor, make sure you avoid those pitfalls if you want to secure a conviction? That's the only thing you can say to yourself, because in this particular case, this man is saying that he was so nervous that he had to go and dispose of this body, and that's the only reason why. What are you nervous about?
Kaylee Marie Anthony was duct taped, put in a plastic bag, and thrown in the woods around the corner from her house after being in the trunk for 12 days. The jury didn't care. That's my fear. That's my only fear. It's not your fault, Darnell. Jennifer Brandt, let me ask you something. this couple was having trouble. She was the main breadwinner. How would it work? Let's say she doesn't suddenly die, and instead he goes to prison for a little while for fraud, gets out. Does he still get some form of alimony?
Well, it depends on their historic.
Historically, she makes all the money.
What they're earning currently.
She made all the money.
If she's always been the primary breadwinner, I mean, the economic circumstances may dictate that he gets alimony, but then she would get child support because she would be primary custodian of these children, especially if he went to jail for any period of time. So it would be some kind of potential offset there. I mean, what he would lose was that, $3 million insurance policy that he was trying to get. And he was already in trouble. If he was going to be going to jail and she was moving on with somebody in Washington, D.C., I mean, he had the potential of his kids being uprooted from Massachusetts and being moved to Washington, D.C. I mean, there were a lot of things facing him that were problematic if this marriage broke up. But, we've seen this so many times before. Killing somebody, if he did, is certainly not a resolution of this, and it certainly puts him in a worse position than he would with any divorce situation, no matter, the economic circumstances or custody issues or whatever. This is a lot worse. A lot of people think this is the solution, but as you can see, it certainly isn't. So,
yeah, he gets no alimony, and he's locked up and he's done. And we're out of time for this segment, but we're ready to go. Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, Luigi Mangione, remember him? People still outside the courthouse in New York saying free Luigi. Well, he's trying to get all the evidence tossed. We'll have the latest out of that case, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, she delivered a tearful eulogy and posted grieving TikToks for the world to see. But now this Georgia teenager is accused of murdering the very parents she claimed to mourn. What was real and what was part of a performance? Tonight, we investigate.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Following breaking news out of New York City as police are searching for a gunman.
He ignores numerous other pedestrians, approaches the victim from behind, and shoots him in the back.
The defendant is charged with 1 count of murder in the first degree and 2 counts of murder in the second degree.
And it's completely out of touch. And it's insult the intelligence of the American people. Innocent until proven guilty. Innocent until proven guilty.
It's really an unbelievable case. Prosecutors believe they have tons of evidence, beginning with videos. You've got DNA left at the scene. They've got the murder weapon. They've got a manifesto. So the defense trying to get the evidence suppressed, tossed, kept out of the trial. Alex Miller from Scripps News Group was at the courthouse today where Mangione was inside in front of the judge.
Luigi Mangione back in court Monday morning as his lawyers fight to keep evidence out of trial. The 27-year-old was brought in a different entrance than usual Monday morning, wearing a gray suit with a pink checkered shirt. He was handcuffed but unshackled during the hearing itself. During the morning session, Judge Gregory Caro heard from a sergeant in charge of police communications for the NYPD, the video custodian for McDonald's, and a 911 coordinator. Mangione paid close attention as photos alleged to be of him were splashed across the screen and appeared calm as he watched video of the shooting itself and of his arrest. He also took notes. The court also heard the 911 call made from a McDonald's manager reporting Mangione to authorities. She said multiple customers recognized him, though only his eyebrows were visible. Mangione's team is especially focused on making sure his backpacks and the contents inside, including a 3D printed gun, a silencer, electronic devices, as well as a red notebook that has what prosecutors say amounts to a confession, are not admissible in court. Nearly 24 members of the public were allowed inside the courtroom, nearly all of them young women, some of them even wearing clothing with his face on it. Alex Miller, Court TV, New York.
All right, Think Tank still with us. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brandt. Where do I want to start here? Darnell, has an innocent person ever written a manifesto?
Not that I recall.
There goes Al saying yes. He's disagreeing with you already, Darnell.
Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto.
All right. Gotcha.
What was he guilty of?
All right. What was he guilty of? Oh, not much. Let's talk about this, Darnell. This is obviously a super high-profile case, right? The only chance, the defendant, I think, has two chances, but one big chance is if he gets evidence thrown out, suppressed, tossed, kept from this jury. Do you, from your experience, in a case like this, with all this at stake and the evidence so overwhelming, could you see a judge tossing evidence in this case?
Well, the short answer is the judges are like, I want to say, in quote, normal human beings to some degree. But they tend to lean towards what they see as prevailing side, which is the prosecution normally, and the side that they think is doing justice for a victim, such as this gentleman who was murdered. So they tend to say that this is their position, and how can their behaviors justify their position? But if they were to really look at this as their job is to call the balls and the strikes and not be involved, then I would say that they would look to suppress evidence such as stuff in the backpack if it's not relevant or if it's highly prejudicial to the defense. But I don't have confidence that they do that. Again, they form a position and they try to do everything to justify the position, even have their law clerks write their opinions to justify their position. They don't say, law clerks, go and research this and see where we are. They say, here's my position. How can I write my memo to justify my position? And so I don't think in this case that the judges are going to be looking to help Luigi at all. They're going to try to justify denying that motion to suppress.
What impact will all those women with the shirts with his picture on it have in this case, Jennifer Brandt?
Well, I mean, they sway public opinion. I don't think they're going to sway a judge or a jury in this matter, ultimately. We've seen this before. We've seen this in the Kerry Reid trial. We've seen people, standing outside of courtrooms in a variety of trials. Yeah, I mean, something for all of us to talk about, and these people obviously feel very passionate about their position, but I don't think it really does anything to sway or change what goes on inside the courtroom. And just following up when you asked Darnell about, judges, I just think they are very careful, especially in a high profile case like this. There's always the possibility of an appeal. So they want to make sure that they do justify their opinions and they are backed by the law and not just, pulled out of thin air. So I think they're going to be very, very careful. A judge will be very, very careful in this case.
Yeah, depending upon what gets suppressed here, it could be a real problem for prosecutors, Al, if the gun and the manifesto and everything else related to that arrest is tossed.
It's not going to be, none of it's going to be suppressed. I mean, it's a pretty much open and shut case. The defense is doing the best job they can to give themselves some preservation of issues on possible appeals down the line. But, what Darnell said about, that it's something that's prejudicial. Well, everything in that, backpack is prejudicial, okay? Because it is also a sign of guilt. It's a sign that he was the one that did it. And they're not going to be able to get around that. I mean, this is a very, very interesting, ploy by the defense. I give them credit for going forward with it. In the end, it's going to be let in. They'll get it under community caretaking. They'll get it under exigent circumstances. There could have been a bomb. There could have been this. There could have been that. They will have this thing.
How about this,
the prosecution?
How about this, before we run out of time? When I post on this on social media, it's not like Kerry Reid, but it's like maybe 1 out of 8 people justified the murder. It's 12 people on a jury. Could one of these people end up on the jury and this thing ends up hung because they're going to be like, oh, yeah, he deserved it?
Yeah, Vinnie, what you talk about is jury nullification. And a lot of times jury nullification comes in play when you have the public outcry like you just asked Jennifer about. When you have all those banners and all those people saying that we've suffered from exorbitant health care prices, they can say, the judge said, this is the jury instruction. But the jury can nullify it because they don't believe in it, theoretically, and sometimes that changes the law down the road. It's a very slippery situation, but one of his lawyers just came off the Diddy trial, so I'm sure he knows a lot about slippery situations.
That was a good one,
Advertisement said
Darnell.
they didn't want the death penalty. The advertisement
We're out
didn't
of
want
time. The
death
music's
penalty.
going. The music's playing. Nothing I can do. Once the music's playing, there's nothing I can do. It's out of my hands. All right, when we come back, where is Coach Travis Turner? His team undefeated, on its way to a potential state championship, but he's wanted. He's a fugitive. The latest when we return.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
The Virginia State Police has obtained 10 warrants for missing high school football coach Travis L. Turner, 46, of Appalachia. Turner is wanted on 5 counts of child pornography and 5 counts of using a computer to solicit a minor. The investigation is ongoing and additional charges are pending. The Virginia State Police is actively searching for Turner, and we are asking for the public's help in providing any information that may lead to his whereabouts.
So the manhunt continues for the football coach, the high school football coach, who's like a hometown hero in this very small town in the Appalachia part of Virginia. He's still missing, Coach Travis Turner. His team continues to win. He's no longer the coach. But he's wanted for these really horrific charges of possession of child pornography and solicitation using a computer, which is serious stuff. It's not murder, but it's pretty serious, to say the least. Serious enough that he absconded, and now everyone's looking for him. So let's get the latest on all this. Let's bring in Liam Bridgman, multimedia journalist, News 5 WCYB in Virginia. Great to see you, Liam. Let's start here. What's the latest that you're hearing, and what are you seeing in the search for the coach?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. Well, today we had gotten word that the U.S. Marshal Service, as well as the FBI, is being involved in this case now. A couple things with that. These are still, from our knowledge, state-level offenses or charges. And we got word this morning that the U.S. Marshal Service is involved and the FBI is involved. They were, or the Virginia State Police requested their assistance within this investigation. We did see actually just a number of hours ago that U.S. Marshals were in Appalachia. Once I got there, they eventually were not there, but they were stationed at what was previously at least a station, an area for law enforcement to stage. Previously, when this was just a missing persons, and now we see law enforcement in the area of Appalachia, and then early last week, we saw them kind of dissipate and go away. So not sure what to make of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point, it seems different. Is he considered dangerous? Like, are they warning the public that if you see him, don't approach him, that sort of stuff? Like, what are they saying to the folks in the community?
So that's also an interesting piece of this. So the U.S. Marshal Service, so they sent out the wanted poster, which you just showed. That has him potentially armed and potentially dangerous. The family also telling us a while back, a few days ago, that he left with a rifle. That was from the family. We tried to confirm this information with Virginia State Police today, but they were not able to tell us if he should be considered armed or dangerous.
And to me, it always comes back to the community, right? This is a small town. Is there any thought that anyone could be helping him, or is he just out there on his own?
At this point, from our perspective, we do not know. Of course, you're going to have everyone on social media making allegations left and right, but as far as we know, as a news agency and speaking with law enforcement, we don't know that information.
And finally, have we heard anything else from his wife?
From the family, we have not heard any additional information outside of he left with a rifle, and that was a few days ago. We are still in communication with the family attorney, and we are hopeful to sit down with the family attorney and potentially his wife and potentially hear some words from her.
All right, Liam Bridgman, WCYB, on the location where all this is happening. Appreciate it. I'm sure we'll be speaking again. Thanks so much, Liam. Let's bring in our think tank. Okay. What do you think here, Jennifer? Are they looking for a man? Are they looking for a body? Do you think he could be surviving? It's been about 10 days now out there on his own in the wilderness. Could he potentially be getting help? What are your thoughts?
Well, it seems, I mean, I think they're looking for a man right now to answer your question, but it seems unlikely that he's still alive. I mean, given the charges that were being levied against him, the pressure that he was under, you know, taking off into the woods with a gun, it just seems, you know, highly unlikely that he's still out there. You know, unless he got some kind of help and is escaped somewhere, which is a possibility, because sometimes you hear that people look like they're going to commit suicide, or, you know, it seems that way to the family, and then they show up, you know, years later somewhere else. So who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if they do find a body, unfortunately.
Where is this all going, Al?
I don't know, Vin. This is a tough situation. This guy was a small, you know, hometown hero. Was recruited to the same class as Michael Vick at Virginia Tech. Played at EKU and was in a duel with Tony Romo, and then, you know, became a coach. Has been coaching this team. The undefeated season. They continued to be undefeated. Thank you that they won. They won on Saturday, and they have a game on this Saturday to continue that streak going. And I can't imagine that somebody who has got these types of charges hanging over his head, and one that they didn't mention, the solicitation in an attempt to try to meet an underage child, which was one of the other things that he has been involved with, and that's why I think the FBI is involved, is the situation that is going to be the death knell for him in getting any support in that type of a community in Appalachia. I have no doubt in my mind that he's taken his own life, and I also have no doubt in my mind that no one in the community is going to be helping him, because once that he crossed the line with that, I think the computer is bad, but the solicitation is what puts it over the line, and I don't see that there's any good that's going to come from this, and he's not going to be coming back. He's too embarrassed. He's too ashamed, and I feel terrible for his family. And I feel terrible for his team, because this is a very hard thing to lose a coach. As a guy who played in high school and a guy who played in college, you're very close to your coach, very close. I'm still close to all my coaches. And to see that happen is just devastating.
So you know, so the idea here, Al says that he has no doubt in his mind, is the same thing as saying he has little doubt, because his mind is small, so not too much doubt could fit in there. It's sort of like being small-minded.
You know, God, you know what, Ben, can I just say this? You know what I like about Darnell, Ben. Well, you know what I like about Darnell.
I got the mic. So listen, Al. You know I love you. Listen, the truth of the matter is, this guy deals with children. He deals with young adults, and he's a hometown hero. So these charges, unlike if it was something else, are charges that you can't bounce back from. So he's going to be a prisoner of the thing he created, which is being one trusted and loved among young people. And now he's being charged with or accused of violating that trust that young people gave him. So I'm going to say that, you know, he's not coming back to the space that he used to be in. Whether he killed himself or not, I don't know. These guys are normally cowards. And so he's probably hiding somewhere, and I think he will face justice.
Ben, if I can ask this question, do you know what I like about Darnell?
Ben, you're nervous, Ben. I know. You don't want to hear it.
Go ahead. I'm waiting for it. Go ahead.
Do you know what I like about him?
No.
Yep, either do I.
Yeah, here you go. See, he's setting me up to be the straight man. and all that, right? I got to set up his jokes now. Now I got to set up your jokes.
It works. It's like
I don't have enough. Yeah. Okay.
Then you gotta keep these under control. I mean, you know.
Well, a big thank you to our think tank, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brandt, Al Wunsch III. Appreciate it. We'll see you again. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates a small-town tragedy gripped the nation. 2 parents found dead, their daughter begging for justice online. But when investigators looked closer, they uncovered a chilling twist. Did Sarah Patrick orchestrate the whole thing? Tonight, we investigate.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. Taking care of Shabusiness. Taylor Shabusiness, the scariest woman to ever be in a courtroom on Court TV. Back in court today, she's already a convicted killer. Today, being sentenced for attacking a prison guard after attacking a nurse after her conviction and life sentence. Here she is rolled into the hearing in restraints because she had previously attacked her attorney. Let's take a look at the attack of the nurse, which was played in court, followed by Taylor Shabusiness's explanation.
I'm telling you, I will give this woman credit. She is very creative. Very creative, for sure. Stop now! Stop resisting! Stop! Stop resisting! No! Yes! No! Spray her! Spray her!
Well, I ain't no and I didn't mean to go off on that like that at all. And I'm sorry for that, how it came off like that. It didn't mean to happen that way, and it shouldn't have. And I should get 10 days at least on the bracelet or something like that.
Something tells me it won't be the last time that we see Shabusiness inside a courtroom, but I'm telling you, scarier and scarier. Let's just hope she doesn't hurt anyone on the inside. Right now, folks, I need you to take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Kendall Jameson. Kendall is missing from Phoenix, Arizona since November 28th, just 17 years old. Here's what you need to do. If you see Kendall, take a look at the picture. If you see her, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. You can call 911, 1-800-LOST, or you can call the Phoenix Police Department in Arizona. That number's up on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Kendall to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids. There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.